Since I was about 5 years old, I came to synagogue every Friday night, and we would sit in the front row and race when the service was over to see who could get to the rabbi first.
I've been a member since I was 12 years old, which was in 1944. And it was the beginning of my life.
We've been here for a long time.
Yeah, we've been here a lot because we go to school here.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
My first memory was just of how welcoming everyone was.
My happiest moment was my bat mitzvah last year. It was pretty awesome.
My happiest memory would be when I carried this Torah scrolls after my conversion.
When Rabbi Mader married me and my wife.
Presenting our children to the congregation.
When his grandson got bar mitzvah, I actually got to meet Muhammad Ali.
4 bar mitzvahs, 3 confirmations, a couple of marriages of our children.
My dad died when I was 10 years old. His funeral was held in the sanctuary here. It was overflowing. From that moment on, whenever I walked into the sanctuary, I felt a sense of comfort and community that I never felt anywhere else.
The first time I had a formal conversation about the death of my brother. And, you know, there were people here in the sanctuary that really cared, and it meant everything to me.
I wanted to find a place where we were going to get married, raise our children with Jewish values, and have the support of a Jewish community. I wanted to find a place that was going to be our home for life.
Rodef Shalom was founded in 1795 when a handful of German Ashkenazi Jews broke off from the Sephardic congregation Mikveh Israel. After the Civil War, they built the first Rodef Shalom building. It was designed by a very young Frank Furness, who went on to become a famous Victorian architect in Philadelphia. The families of Rodef Shalom played an important role in the history of Philadelphia. The most prominent Jews in law firms, the banks, politics, were members here. In 1927, Rabbi Louis Woolsey had a vision of having a building that had a school attached and social spaces and offices, almost like a Jewish community center. They demolished the building. And in 1928, they opened the doors to the new building, and here we are, 90 years later.
We got married on a Monday night, in the rain, in the cold, on the bima.
The bima was not cold and raining.
No, outside it was cold and raining. But we got married, it was a very cold night.
And the sanctuary was beautiful, and...
Well,
the sanctuary was beautiful.
I didn't think it was so beautiful. This was 1985, and the synagogue, to me, looked shabby. And it was old, and it was dark.
But you lit the place up.
Rabbi Patrice Heller was the first woman rabbi here. She had the chuppah constructed for us, and it was just so romantic.
Standing under the chuppah, I remember that feeling, being in this space connected to the history of our religion.
Rabbi Friedman had invited us to light candles, and we had danced in the aisles, and I just remember thinking, like, this is the first place that we can call home in Philadelphia.
When I arrived, I saw the roots of what was beautiful, the history of what was beautiful, but also I saw the potential for what it could be.
We closed the sanctuary for a year and completely renovated it. Every surface in the room had something done to it.
We added aisles and community space and the low bima to the sanctuary, which for me facilitated our connections with one another.
It was spectacular. It sparkled.
It's not shabby anymore. Now it's beautifully lit.
That awe, what Heschel called radical amazement, I think you get that in the sanctuary.
You open the doors, and it's like that scene in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy opens the door, it goes from black and white to color.
Welcome. We're celebrating 90 years of the inspiration that comes from this glorious space.
Today is the birthday of our world.
1, 2, 3.
We used to play games counting the diamonds or the lines or the Hebrew letters or the windows.
I like to look at the bema where my dad is on.
Let us know righteousness.
I get lost in the geometry of this place.
My eye goes back to the arch over the bema with the tribes.
I'm always looking at people in the pews.
The star on the top of the dome.
The stained glass windows.
The inside of that gorgeous ark.
The balcony, because I like how you can see different views, and also because you can see how many people there are.
This sanctuary is so grand, it's a little hard to have puny thoughts.
The scale of the sanctuary gives me a sense of my finitude and my place in the universe.
I feel peaceful when I go inside there.
That space is the manifestation of the love that people have for this place. So many people put their resources, time, and effort into building that. I think about that every time I'm in that space. There are so many stories absorbed in those walls. I think about life cycle events. For each human being going through that life cycle event, that is a moment they will never forget for the rest of their lives.
My claim to fame at Road of Shalom was I was the first girl that was affirmed in 1971. They would not let me call it a bat mitzvah. The only thing I was allowed to do was read the prayers in Hebrew. The fact that I was assuming the rabbinical leadership moment, I think, is what made me very proud. And I knew that if I failed to execute with excellence, it could jeopardize the opportunity for every other girl behind me.
Test 1, 2.
Test 1, 2.
I think that's excellent. Perfect. Good. All right.
It's pretty special doing it in a place where I've been all my life.
There's that sense of continuity as well as community. It makes me think of my parents and my grandparents and my great-grandparents.
I'm very proud of the leadership from back in the 50s and 60s who did not abandon the neighborhood.
We volunteered even then, helping the poor, collecting for UNICEF. Really, it was the sense of having to make this place a better world.
The inspiration in that sanctuary is knowing we have these roots. I'm thinking about the shoulders on which I stand. All of these generations of rabbis before me who have taught their Torah, and now I get to teach the next generation, the next era of Torah, of interpretation.
Beautiful.
The first time I brought out my ukulele during a service, Rabbi Kuhn said something along the lines of, does anyone hear that whirling, that spinning sound? And everyone looked around and he said, that's Rabbi Berkowitz spinning in his grave right now.
All of the generations that had come before, they wouldn't have believed it. But I absolutely think that they would have wanted it to be a living, breathing space.
Whatever our community needs, we're going to enable them to become their fullest Jewish selves here.
Look at a few of these texts.
The Venetian ghetto in the 16th century.
The meaning of the Seder.
That's the whole Torah.
Kuf is like the letter
K.
Our rabbis do a wonderful job of tying social justice issues to Jewish teaching, and I'm very grateful for that.
Another pan for vegetables.
Set this up in kind of assembly lines.
Every time we leave here,
We always are trying to plan the next time we're coming back.
Hello.
Hey, how you guys? How you doing? How you feeling?
Good, well, okay.
You know, I'm already thinking, like, I did your wedding, I'll do the baby naming, I'll get to do his bar mitzvah.
Right, exactly.
You know, I'll do his wedding one day.
It's important to us to raise our son to be connected to something larger than himself. And Road of Shalom can help teach and embody those values.
L'dor vador nagid godlecha. You are a part of something greater than just yourself. Next link in the chain of Jewish tradition.
Vayikat Yaakov.
I love the fact that our kids have this other home.
I feel at home in the Rodef Shalom community more than any other community that I'm technically a part of.
I feel like these are my people.
This is my home.
Today, I'm so proud of Rodef Shalom. Now, when people say, oh, the big, beautiful synagogue right there on Broad Street, I go, yeah. And, oh, yes, I've seen it in the news. And yes, I know it's a famous synagogue. I'm just so proud.
Is Rodef Shalom a synagogue or is it a school?
Synagogue and a school. And like an art museum. It's a synagogue and a school. And an art museum. And an art museum. All free. Yeah.